John Wesley always reminded himself about the 3 simple rules: about doing no harm, about doing all the good he could, and about staying in love with God. Wednesday, I was on my way to visit Julie and Larry Seth. I was delivering some Stephen Ministry stuff. I was checking in to see how they were doing, and I was delivering 6 dozen donuts. I had 8 dozen donuts in the pickup total. When I got there, they shared with me a wonderful cup of coffee, a delicious donut. They shared one of their 6 dozen. I had my dog along. We had my dog met their dog, and they did that sort of thing. So it was a festive visit, but on the way there, I saw ahead of me this curious sight. It was a curious sight because it was an accident, but the 2 cars were so far apart from each other. And one was facing the wrong way down 4-lane road, and one was facing the correct way, but there was a median in between them even. And the front ends of both cars were practically ripped off, just kind of scattered. I thought, I was putting the puzzle together, trying to figure out what happened there. Well, it turned out, in the evening I found out what happened because my son was in a company truck at a distance, and they were the first ones to see this accident unfold, and somebody kind of T-boned somebody else and knocked him so hard that they knocked him clear up and over the median, facing the wrong direction down the road. Well, anyway, visited with Basells, had a nice visit, got back in my pickup, drove off down the street, and I picked up a Diet Coke in a McDonald's cup. Hit a bump, and the bump was so big that it made me squeeze the cup, the top came off, and the Diet Coke and the ice all went on the seat, flooded my pants, ice sliding under my leg of my pants, and the bump hadn't looked that big, but then I started hearing a noise, and I thought, my muffler is falling off or something. So then I turned down the radio, and I knew the sound immediately. I was getting a flat tire. And as I drove, I noticed I was getting a flat tire that was going flat really fast. It was starting to roar. And by the time I got home, I felt like I hit every pothole in the road because there was no cushion. My tire was smoking. My backside felt like I had sat on an ice rink all night. And I looked at that smoking tire and I thought, I wonder what happened. I didn't have a clue until I saw this piece of plastic sticking out of the tire. And I looked at that piece of plastic and I pulled it out and I saw it had been snapped off, and I thought, this is debris from that accident. Those pieces of plastic scattered, I hit one. And just a little one, and it was sharp like a razor at the edge, and right where I hit it was on the edge of the tread and the edge of the sidewall. Instead of making a nice round hole besides, it made a slice like a razor. So then I was out in the garage and I was thinking, I had another visit scheduled, and I had the phone number at church, so I couldn't tell the person I was running late. So I thought, well, I can take out this spare tire that's been under there 16 years, or I can try to plug this quick. So I pulled the plug off the wall and tried to plug this slant of a hole and drive it to where, and by this time, I was thinking about those people in the accident. And I have to tell you, I wasn't wondering how they were doing. I was thinking about this tire's going to cost me $100 or more, and I am not happy, and their mess spilled into my life, and somebody's waiting for me, and I don't even have the phone number to call to tell them I'm not there, and now I'm waiting outside, and I've got these wet pants, and I got to change those, and I got to get this tire plug in, and my compressor doesn't even hold enough to fill up a tire. It took 3 times filling up that compressor to fill up the tire. Oh. Remember those simple rules: do no harm, do all the good you can, and stay in love with God. At that moment, I wasn't loving God, and I wasn't thinking of doing good to people, especially a couple of people that were in a couple of vehicles. To actually live doing no harm and doing all the good we can. No sarcasm, no put-downs, no hurtful words, no disrespect of others' truths, No offering opinions when they weren't asked for is anything but easy. To actually live doing all the good we can, to step up to the buffet of life and say, put another task on my plate, please. I'm just looking for one more way to give back to the world. To beg for one more offering opportunity. To beg to hear about apportionments just one more time. One more mission opportunity. It's not usually our normal way. And staying in love with God, always scheduling into our lives, is one more thing that sounds much simpler than it is. And if we think giving and loving and praying is easy, then hear what Jesus says about it. If anyone wants to take advantage of you, let them. To the one who takes your coat, if you have another coat, give that to him as well. If someone begs from you and you have something, give to that person. Doesn't say, well, try and figure out if they're honest or what that person might have done differently in their life, not to end up in this situation, or how the gift might be misused. Simply give, if you have something to give. Love, Jesus says, not as you've heard it said, love your neighbor. Take it a step further, love your enemies. You know you have that list of friends and family you pray for. Add to it those people you really don't like. In Jesus' day, the tax collectors. We could add those who don't live in our neighborhood, or those who don't speak our languages, or those who we distrust. Pray the best for those who irritate you the worst. That's a challenge. Jesus kind of implies, I think the whole Bible implies, that we are born to do exactly the opposite. We are born to get miffed. We are born to be irritated. We are born to win. But if someone accidentally, a stranger, is responsible for your flat tire, go out there and bring them your other tire as well and tell them pound a nail in it. They might as well. Or if someone purposefully sets out to do you harm, it's okay. If they purposely set out to injure you, focus instead on learning the arts of peace and love and prayer. While they focus on winning and hurting and hating, you'll know that you'll be better off in the end than they are. There is an old saying, painting wings on a caterpillar doesn't make it a butterfly. Jesus is challenging us to do the very things that we can't do on our own. To be the very people we cannot be on our own. Jesus is telling us we are being called to do things harder than shoving a camel through the eye of a needle, or shoving a chivy through your bedroom door, or shoving a piano through the garbage disposal. Jesus is telling us that if we're not in over our heads, that we're not in deep enough. Or if we don't recognize we're in over our heads, we're not in deep enough, because life will call us to rely on a higher power to help us to do exactly the things we can't do on our own. We're there to the tire place and that sort of stuff. And I knew it was going to be about $100. And they said to me, oh, you have the road hazard. When we sell tires, the road hazard comes with it. You didn't buy it, it's just there. Oh, well, that's nice. It ended up costing me a valve stem and mounting and somewhere on the tire, $23.70. Somebody higher up than me was able to relieve my misery. God is seeking to work that way in our lives. Bring to us again peace and forgiveness in our hearts when we can't even remember what inner peace felt like or imagine inner peace will return again. God is offering to transform us, not looking to paint wings on our caterpillar lives, looking to transform us into the Easter people, the butterfly people. And in the meantime, we have the privilege of asking God, begging God each day to help us to love and live that radical life God has called us